Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways we can more effectively serve the body of Christ. Today we have with us Dr. James Stevens. He is the director of the music department at Welch College. He's published over 1,000 different songs, and actually that's what we're going to talk about today. Some of the music that he wrote and that has been published that he wrote over the pandemic. So Dr. Stevens, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you know, some people caught up on their Netflix. Some people apparently just became quite anxious. Some people got in shape during the shutdown part of the pandemic. What were you doing when everything shut down in late March with your time that you had on your hands?
Well, I did catch up on a little Netflix stuff, but after a while, that sort of runs dry, you know.
Yeah.
I've mainly been doing a lot of composing. I've just tried to keep very steady during that time. I think if you have the time, there's no reason to sit around idle. There's a lot of things you can do and work on and be productive and find things outside of your normal things. But mainly been doing a lot of writing, mostly piano stuff, but a lot of organ music, and then some solo instrument for like violin and piano, flute, piano, and some other things like that, and a few choral things. But right now, all the choral music is about died as far as sales in the country because ensembles can't meet, so people aren't buying it at all. So
Yeah. So you've got that going on, but you kept writing and you kept working. Give us a little bit about a feel for what a day was like for you during that particular period. I see you've got your keyboard there, and I see a piano. I know this is your Welch College office, but I suspect you've got something similar at your home. And so what was like a typical day for you?
Well, my piano at home is roughly centered at the same place where I can sort of play right here. Then I look at the screen where the music is on the screen and sort of compose directly to the program and engrave as I'm composing and everything. And so I would try to do at least a few things a day, sometimes more, but at least a couple, every single day. I actually, since I think January until today, have published over 1,000 pieces.
Wow.
And now at Sheet Music Plus have somewhere about close to 4,500. And all, and then I have worked with some other publishers and things, but I think on that the big thing is just being steady.
Yes.
You can just try to do everything in one day and then be burned out for a week. But there's a lot you can do if you just every day, make some goals and try to finish some things and then just keep doing it. I sort of see it like as a tortoise and the hare, type of thing where the rabbit, had a fast start and then took a nap, and then the turtle passed it by.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, I see myself as that turtle, and even though I move fast at times, I like just to keep steady and just keep moving on stuff. And
so, like every day, you were writing at least some. You were doing some things, and I know some people may be listening, saying, "Well, I'm not a musician, or I don't write music," but really, what you did, if a person was a writer or if a person was a pastor, it'd be like writing out sermons or writing out devotions, even like for a teacher, preparing certain lessons or so forth.
Yes.
It sounds like what you're saying is you took one bite out of it at a time. You an early riser or how does that work?
Well, my preference would be to be a all-night rider and a late riser.
I see.
The truth is, right now, out of necessity and the way life goes, I'm more of an early riser, and then try to work on things during the day and also at night some, but don't write through the night anymore.
Unless, I see.
Sometimes may wake up and do something, but mainly I'm early rising and just trying to keep going and all.
I hear you, but there is research on that. There are some people that are morning people. There are some people that are evening people. I think you probably know Dr. Pickrilly. He seems to be more of an evening, not an early morning person. So it's like everybody's got their flow or the way their body works. And it sounds like you found a way to make that happen And even when we're back kind of in business, so to speak, during the pandemic, or now the pandemic is still going on, but like we are doing school and we are,
Yes.
many of us going into offices and so forth, you found a way to make it work out there too.
Yes. Well, I think better, I think very late at night, if I'm not tired, because things settle down and you don't have a lot of, distractions, but that's usually the case. Usually when I'm writing, there's 100 things going on at once. So I'm tuning out a TV in the background, or other things, and you can't always have your ideal setting. You just gotta do work regardless and keep going.
Right. And then as you're writing or you're putting things together, you find yourself getting kind of lost in it and forgetting what time it is, and lo and behold, now it's.
I think a lot of times on creative things and writing, sometimes at the beginning you feel like you're hitting a wall, or you feel like you have a trouble sort of getting going. But if you can never break through that first little part of that, a lot of times you sort of do lose track of time, and your mind sort of opens up and you become more creative. But I think too many people quit at that first little section where they're trying to do something, they don't quite feel inspired, or they don't quite seem like it's working. And if they would just push a little farther and just keep going anyway, they might break through. And then all of a sudden you can get a lot accomplished and like you said, lose yourself, in that.
That's good. So initially, a lot of times it's difficult. You've done it so much. If you're producing this number of songs, you've gone through this process it's like clockwork for you. But a person trying to get started or get going in some sort of creative process, it's not always fun and games, especially in the beginning. It takes some time. I suspect it gets easier though.
Yes, it does. And I can write really very fast now, but there's no way to get to that point without taking that long time of being frustrated and going slow and keeping it going and just keep trying. But over time, if you do things well at the beginning at a slower pace, then over time you increase your ability to do things faster, and many times do them even faster, better at a faster rate, because you've had a lot of experience working in that way and all.
Oh, it's great. So you're listening to us. Sometimes people think, oh, creative people just easy, they just put stuff up. What you're hearing is, no, it's hard work. However, it does seem to get easier. I think I heard that. And there's that's something people may be aware of, something called flow. There's actually a book out there about that, where you kind of get lost in the process. And as you look at creative people, you're kind of like a prototype, or a good example of that is that's how it happens. It's, you're just doing a little bit, as you said before, the tortoise and the hare, a little bit every day, and it comes forward. So and I wonder, was the shutdown part, was that like we hated it that there was a shutdown, but did it end up being quite an opportunity for you?
Yeah, I think it did. And I was, and also, unlike a lot of my friends who were in the creative community, I actually did pretty well during that time, because a lot of the stuff that I was writing for small, like solo or just a duet stuff and these kind of things, people were still doing that. And people a lot of times were still live streaming, like an offertory type thing or meditation. I got a lot of requests for churches for permission. So fortunately, the things I was doing were not shut down. But I have friends that were in the entertainment industry, like cable and network TV, and those things just shut down production. And then when they shut down, then there's no request for new material. Right. And the same thing with choirs. Some of these choral companies went down to maybe 10% of what they were usually doing, and they were having massive layoffs. So on my end, I was very, very fortunate, because my stuff was actually doing better than I was before the pandemic. And so, but then I just made an effort just to keep going, because who knows the future is going to bring. Right. You don't know what's going to shut down or if things going to open up, but there's no reason to sit around and do nothing and wait for the good or bad to happen. You might as well get yourself in as strong a place as you can, as productive as you can, and when things open up, you'll be ready to go. Don't lose the time.
Let's do one more thing. You do have an environment that is conducive to this. So you tell us a little bit about your home office, how you lay it out so that it's easier for you to write and to get the creativity going, if we will.
Well, if you saw it, you might be surprised because my office is really set up in my bedroom. I have places where I could do that, but I just have it sort of set up, sort of like it is here, where I have a keyboard and then I have a computer that I'm looking at to the left side of it, and I'm used to sort of working, from that. So I don't have. I try not to spend. I spend some money maybe on some different sounds that I use, but as far as everything else, I'm all self-contained. So I do all of the artwork, all of the covers, all of the recording, all of the writing and everything, and create the PDFs. And I think that makes it easier because I'm not relying on other people to do things, or I'm not having to go some studio to get the work out. And so I think that helps. So my setup is really somewhat small. It's not a lot in there. It's just in my bedroom and stuff. So that can be good and bad, but it makes sure that I'm there all the time, so I can jump up and do something if I need to.
So if you had trouble sleeping, we would say bad. But since you're probably able to sleep, it's good. And since you do, it sounds like perhaps wake up at a certain time, from time to time, you can just go right into it and begin to do things. But the other thing I would like our listeners to think about is, as soon as you get up, you're looking around, there's piano, there's computer, and it's some internal prompts to be creative, if you will.
Well, I do. When I wake up, I check on things, like I check to see if things that I've uploaded have become live, and then I have to sort of put those links at various places. So there's always these little things that I'm sort of checking on, and then I'm trying to maybe get another piece started. And when I'm writing, I try to, one of my processes is when I finish something is to forget it. Is to go on to the next thing, is to try to, because if you spend too much time staring what you've already done, then in a lot of ways you'll never get anything else done. So I try to put what I've done, just finished, behind me and get going on just something completely new.
That's great. And that keeps moving forward, keep looking forward, and not really looking back then.
Right.
So how can people come, or how can they get some of your music? How can they get access to some of this?
Well, I have a lot of stuff at sheetmusicplus.com. As far as like I've probably got maybe 40 something piano books there, and lots of piano music, things for flute, oboe, viola, cello, violin, and other instruments, and organ. I've got a lot of organ music out recently that I'm really excited about. Also, I have a lot of stuff that's streaming right now on. I probably have 400 songs or more on like places like Pandora Radio and Spotify and Apple Music, Amazon Music, and just wherever people stream. So if somebody wants to hear something, that'd be a good place to go. And then constantly, every day when I write something, most of the time I'll put it up on YouTube, even though I don't put everything up and everything, because sometimes I may write a violin piece and then also a flute piece and an oboe piece based on the same song. So if I did, I may not put any of those up, or just one,
Yeah.
But yeah, every day or most days I'll put something up on YouTube as well.
And so kids that are thinking about, and I say kids, but we think about like with the CTS competition with Vertical 3 and so forth, wanting to compete with the violin or viola or some other instrument, a good place, go listen to music. And really, they should be constantly learning new songs, and that's that world is unknown to me, but that's a way to kind of go at that, I suppose.
Well, I have a lot of sacred music there, and hymn arrangements, so those kind of things would be very appropriate for those like type of competitions, or for someone who was trying to study and also wanted to use some of what they were working on, like in their local church. So I have a lot of pieces that would sort of fit into those categories. Most of it's sort of anywhere from intermediate to sort of late intermediate, early advancing, but I don't have much like at the very bottom beginner level. but most of what I put up is not designed to be virtuoso stuff either.
Okay.
It's sort of the middle of practical music that someone could use in their school or church, or lessons.
Which is great, which would be great material and would be good for them to access and to utilize. And then it continues to help as one keeps writing music and publishes it out there.
Yeah. And let everybody try to publish or write a little bit. I started writing some songs when I was probably in junior high, just some little tunes, and why not start somewheres? And you have to start somewheres. And as they're taking some lessons, they can work on some creative things, try to make up a tune, make up their own arrangements, and then over time that'll help them develop some skills in those areas too, and all.
There you go. Well, that is pretty good. Now, if you've been listening today, he's told you a lot about the whole music part, but whether you be a writer, even like a pastor or a teacher, really any of these creative activities that we do helps us all grow, helps us really to do things to honor and glorify the Lord. We do it to the best of our ability. And it's a good process to think about how is it that these things, the writing of songs, the writing of books, how is it these things really happen? And what Dr. Stevens has shared has really been helpful to us today. Well, anything else you think of before we send you back to the music world, my friend?
I don't think so. It's just been a real pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for stopping in and sharing, and to our listeners, thank you for listening in, and we encourage you, like this podcast, if you will, wherever you listen to it. If you're watching on social media, we encourage you to like and share and write a review. Every little bit helps, and really as we all come together and work at many of these things, we do find we truly are better together. So thank you for joining us today.